Hey everyone, welcome to CMGR Hangout. It is Friday, and we are talking about bullies and trolls today. Um, I don't have everything memorized like Bruta really usually does, and I apparently am tongue-tied as well. So we're just going to jump right into it. We have some great panelists here, so I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and then we'll get started.
Christine, you go first.
David. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Go ahead, Kristen. I was going to have David you kick us off, but whichever.
ladies first.
No, because David knows that I hate talking after him. Hey, everybody. I am Kristen Cardos, and I am always around on the Twitters. I think most of you that are hanging out probably know me. Love chatting, love being here on Fridays, and let's do this.
I'm David Ewald, longtime community manager, currently with Bit9 plus Carbon Black. I can't talk today either. Bit9 plus Carbon Black.
Hi everyone, I'm Chris McCoolin. I run a high-end yo-yo company called CLYW, and I do Snapchat and Facebook ads for people.
Hey everybody, my name's
Happy to
Alan.
be here.
Oh, hey Chris. Sorry to jump over
Sorry,
you
go
there.
ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm bullying you out of the way there. My name's Alan Bush. I am a community manager at Rackspace, and really looking forward to talking about this today with you guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, and I didn't mention it earlier, but I am the community manager at Magento, which is an open course e-commerce software platform. And I can't talk today, but which we've already established. And I also co-produce CMGR Hangout here, usually with Brew and Dom, but they're out. But we have Kristen on air, who's usually on Twitter, and we actually sort of have Carrie on air behind me, who's also usually on Twitter, because she's visiting today. So I'll go ahead and kick us off. We were talking earlier, so I wanted to start us out with just question one is, what are the key differences between bullies and trolls? Just so that we all kind of start out on the same page with terminology. Not everyone at once. Anyone have
Well,
thoughts
okay. So, to me, a bully is someone that is trying to pull you down and bring you down. So, um, and then I guess a troll is someone who is trying to provoke a reaction from you. A bully's job is to shout you down or quiet you down or stifle your thoughts. Um, and a troll is there to basically rile you up and get you going. So it's kind of two ends of the spectrum. You got someone that's trying to shout you down and someone that's tried to goad you into shouting, basically. At least that is to me.
Do you think that there's like an escalation path between the two, right? Where you have some people might be trying to goad you into something, and then eventually after finding success, finding that there's always some type of a reward, right?
Right.
For that, and is that like the natural escalation path where hey, I've bullied enough people that, or I've trolled enough, and I get that reward now. Oh, hey, someone's calling me on it, and now I'm going to try to stifle them down. I mean, is that the way that usually
You
escalates?
know, I guess it depends on the end game, right? What is it? What's in it for the person that's causing the issue, right? If it's a bully, and or to me, a bully is like, okay, I have an idea, a way of thinking, and your idea and your way of thinking is not compatible or incorrect in my eyes, so I'm going to shove my thoughts and ideas down your throat to the point where you just shut up and go away. Whereas a troll, I think, it doesn't want to do that. They want to get the reaction right. So maybe they'll take even if they don't believe it or not, take a completely opposite idea and they'll nitpick yours apart, but not in a way to quiet you, but to aggravate you and to get you to come back at them. I really think that's the big difference. I'm sure that the best situation is when you get a troll that's picking on a bully, because the bully's not going to want to shout them down, and the troll is just going to methodically poke them to get them really, really riled up, and the bully won't back down. Fun to watch, though.
Yeah, I think definitely a big difference with a troll is that they'll just do it for the attention and just to get other people riled up, get people like agreeing with them. You know, they're they're getting more likes and comments on their posts. Like it's just a lot of getting attention type of thing. I think sometimes.
I think that the troll, everybody has that person in their life that says they hate drama and yet they seem to be the center of it all.
Yeah.
I think that's a troll. I think that's exactly what a troll is. Oh, I'm not a troll, but you suck.
Don't you guys think though that a lot of the motivation behind the behaviors is kind of similar? It's a way for them to feel a certain kind of power. The behavior might be a little different, but the motivation I think is similar.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the motivation is, well, maybe not. I think a bully wants to be in control, and I think a troll wants to be in control to some extent. But I think the difference is that the bully really needs to feel like they're in control and they're the master of their domain, whereas a troll just wants to be able to kind of control the situation, right? They want to control your behavior, whereas a bully wants to control their lives, I guess. And maybe I'm going too broad, but yeah, there's I guess similarities and but I think the main difference is that a troll is just doing it for the fun of it, but a bully I think has maybe a more compulsive need to
Well, and on
you
that
know
compulsive note, I think that a lot of bullies probably don't know that they are bullies. I don't think people wake up and say, "Hey, I'm putting on my big bully pants today, and I'm gonna go and be a jerk to everybody." I think that a lot of people that troll definitely do that with um, with the intent, and they know that they're going out to do it. They're actively pushing a button or something. But a bully, I don't think they do it intentionally. Not to excuse the behavior by any means, but I think that, like you said, it's this kind of need to control and need to push out other people's points of view, and I think they do that without knowledge of it. And so, to not steal thunder from later down the road, but I think that's one of the ways that we can kind of limit it or keep it from snowballing. Lots of nods.
Sorry, I was trying to load up some tweets. I wanted to bring in a couple from Twitter because Gordon mentioned that trolls will simply drop negativity and walk away, while bullies drop negativity and insist that they're right. What do you guys think about that?
Sometimes they'll walk away. We call that drive-by trolling. you know, they kind of just drop something and they're out of there because they want to stir up the pot, kick the hornet's nest. But I think some people, there's an active trolling, right? So I don't know. I think that there are people, I know of people, I've seen like people that have actually talked to people that consider themselves troll, where they will wake up and spend the whole day plotting how they're going to troll, right? Um, and there's passive ways of trolling and there's aggressive ways of trolling. There was an incident on Reddit where there was a guy that had this particular username and this other guy decided for whatever reason that he was going to continually ask him if he was associated with this non-existent forum, right? Oh, you're so and so from this forum, and he created multiple accounts and it went over a year in progress of him just using these random accounts to pop in and say, hey, are you the one from this? And it's very passive trolling, but he did it for a long time to the point where the guy got tired of, oh my God, what is this again? They're asking me about this forum that I know nothing about, and it didn't cause any harm per se, but it's certainly I'm tired of hearing this question to the one guy. But finally, the guy came clean and said, it was a thread where he was like, this has been happening for so long, and the guy that was doing it said, all right, I'm going to fess up. I've been doing this for 18 months. I have hundreds of accounts that I've asked you these questions on. And, that's almost like a prankish troll to me. There's no harm involved. But it was certainly, it would be annoying to somebody to have that same question. It kind of reminds me of the Escape to New York where everybody's like, Snake Plissken, I thought you were dead. I heard you were dead. I heard you were dead. He hears that over and over again. And, he just gets tired of hearing it.
Fair enough. I have another one from Toby here, and he said bullies are clearly mean and attack, while trolls are instigators under the guise of opening the discussion. He says both suck. What do you guys think of that one?
I think that's good.
Yeah, like I've noticed with like trolls in like a popular yo-yo Facebook group is that it'll turn into like almost a mob mentality, and like one person will start it, and then everyone else just jumps on and on and on and on, and it's just like people that you wouldn't expect are hopping in, and then it's just like they're just they want to be part of whatever action is happening. I don't know if you've seen that. Probably.
If you've moderated any kind of gaming forum, you've seen that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like bullies definitely is more of a one-on-one. Or sometimes it's just someone having a bad day, And
Well,
then
and it seems like
you take it too personally.
that's definitely something that can happen where that's where it can start, and then the troll sees that and starts to poke at it and sees that as a button to poke at, and then the bully might see that and use it to kind of push moderation or push the conversation in another direction. You mentioned gaming communities, though. I mean, it seems like there are some communities where you have more of a culture of bullying and a more of a prevalence of them. Which ones are, gaming obviously is one we see. We mentioned Reddit a minute ago. Are there others where there's just a hotbed of bullying or?
I think, well, see, now I've had the pleasure of working on both sides of the house, right? So I've been in gaming and I've been in a more business professional B2B, B2C environment, although gaming is technically B2C. And I will tell you that in the professional side of the house, you never have to worry about trolling. You almost have to worry about bullying. You never have to worry about moderation because it's a person's job on the line, right? They're working with you because it's their job entails working with your software, your product, your something. So they have that level of, if I screw up here, it could cost me in the wallet and my job. Whereas, with gaming, there's so many, people use, their pseudonyms, right? We all have pseudonyms on the internet. So, like, on Twitter, I'm historian, right? I've been historian for years in the gaming world, and that's where that comes from. And we can hide in gaming. You can hide behind that pseudonym, and it's so easy to change your pseudonym and be somebody completely different just by putting on a new moniker. And it's that anonymity that makes it so easy. If you look up John Gabriel's Greater Internet Theory, it basically says that if you take a human and give them an audience and give them anonymity, they're going to turn into a total fuckwad. And it's just that you give somebody the ability to play out a drama and have no recourse or no repercussions fall back on them, they're going to be idiots just to be an idiot. And that happens in the gaming world far more than anywhere else. And there's very specific types of users in gaming communities. That I think I have a bingo board for gaming community that I'll dig up and share on Twitter, but it's very specific. You got the people that, if things aren't going their way, they're going to tell you they're going to take their ball and go home, and they're going to take all their friends with them. And of course, it's they think that's going to have some impact on you, but it doesn't. It's like, okay, bye, see you later.
I was going to say that's one of the easiest solutions when they do take their ball and go home and play on a different playground.
David, do you think that gaming, and I think we all agree that gaming communities tend to be pretty ripe for this, but do you think it's because the type of people that participate are competitive by nature? Do you think that's a factor? Do you think it's about
certainly within the games themselves that can lead to that kind of thing? Within the fighting game community, they call it being salty. If you're if you get burned or you get beat, you get salty, you get angry, and you react. And part of trolling would be to just call them out on it and say, "Ooh, somebody is salty," and they have other phrases like scrub, which is someone who isn't very good. And so there's some built-in, like noob and other things that are built into the language of gaming that that is designed to be trollish and bullying and other things like that. So yeah, and the competitive angle is there, of course. People want to be better than somebody else, and for me, it was always gaming was always about the journey, not the destination. So for me, winning was great when I won, but it wasn't a big deal if I didn't win because I had fun getting there, right? To me, it's the fight that's fun. It's not the win. And I guess that makes me an excellent person to be a community manager for gaming because for me, I'm not out to pull one over on somebody. I'm out for everybody to have fun.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and transfer us into question 2 here, which is how can we address negative behavior before it snowballs? And just a little bit of background here. I usually dig up some information on topics before I put out the post and everything, and I was looking at an excerpt from Devning's book, Community Management for Dummies, and she had a good section in there on how negative behavior can spiral into bully or troll behavior. And someone else commented earlier about trolling starting from just wanting to get laughs or humor or attention. How can we really address these behaviors before bullies and trolls form, if that's possible?
Certainly defining what those behaviors are that are considered trollish, which means having a good set of rules in place. It's fine to say you can't do that, but if it's not written somewhere, then you're doing a kind of a retroactive ruling, and they're liable to take offense and say, hey, that's not in the rules. But then you get into the situation where you're trying to define everything, and you can't possibly do that. So you have to have a clause that says, be cool, man. Don't be a pain in the ass.
I think it's important to really understand the behavior. Like, you can't just say that somebody's being a troll or a bully because they come in and they do something negative. You have to understand, okay, what did they do and why did they do it? Some are obvious. Some things are obvious. Other times you might need to ask a question. And start by understanding, all right, am I really dealing with a troll here, or is this somebody who's actually been a really positive member of the community and something happened?
I found that just asking sometimes will help you identify them quickly. Like,
yeah,
pull out the Joker on them and say, why so serious? Why are you angry? What's got you so upset? Those kinds of questions really forces them to identify that they're upset. What is that from? Celestine Prophecy, that book from days gone by, where they talk about your dramas, your personal dramas. So they'll call it identifying their drama. Anyway, but calling them out and saying, why are you so angry, typically will diffuse them instantly, whether that's in real life or through the internet, because they have to address it. They're like, well, why am I so angry? And they have to give you a response. And a troll will give you a response that doesn't really answer the question, whereas somebody that's genuinely upset and needs help will definitely tell you what's made them so angry. You may get volumes of information from them that way. But a troll will just go out of their way to needle you. But I have seriously sent somebody a message through a forum that said, why are you so angry? And that was it. That was the whole message, and it's diffused them, and we were able to work on the problem and get it solved.
Yeah, I think too, like the psychology that I use as a parent. Like, once you identify, okay, this person's being negative just to be negative, then you have to eliminate the reward that they're getting for the behavior, right? So if the reward is the attention that they're getting, then you have to eliminate that as the reward. So it goes back to what you were saying, David, about having clear rules in place. So once you determine, okay, this person's being a troll, they're just being a trolly troll, then you go back to your rules and you say, okay, now you're not getting any more attention, whether it's you have to remove them from the area or whatever it is. That's my logic on it. But what do you guys think?
No, definitely. Like with the yo-yo community, we have a lot of senior members. So we have people who have been in it for 15 years, 10 years, and then you have the young guys like 3 years, 1 year, a few months. So a big part of it is leading with example too. So like the senior members, they don't they don't act like that, and they know it's not kind of acceptable in the community. So
Yeah,
that's a big thing too. And it's just
and
having a safe place for people that's very positive, and like when someone gets negative and trolls, like either they get their post deleted or they're just
I
they,
like to use
they
the
just
Jedi
pull it
analogy
aside.
on them.
Yeah,
Yeah, just go in and say, look, I call it the wise sages speech, and that's when you go to your existing community and say, look, we've got a lot of new people, you know, so you that have been here for a while, you guys are my Jedi, right? And we got a whole shitload of Padawans coming in, and I want you to be Jedis and not, bad guys, which be the good guys here, and be the wise guys, the wise sages that show them the way, the correct path. Lead by example. And if you get somebody that kind of goes off the rails, you just pull them in and say, look, you're one of my best guys here, man. You've been forever. You know the ropes. Just chill. Show everybody else how to do it. Look how everybody else is doing it, and stick with the program. And it becomes a fulfilling prophecy, because the new people come in, see how the old people are reacting. That
yeah,
becomes the normal behavior of it, and it just somebody breaks out of line, everybody comes in and says, hey, just be cool, man, we don't do that here.
yeah.
And it's good.
And it's just not.
As long as they don't jump on board. I hate communities where somebody comes in that's very new, asks a very newbie question, and instead of giving the answer, they put something like use search, or
Yeah,
they
I
put
hate
they
that.
put like it's like, no, you don't do that. You give them the correct answer, and then tell them you could also find this by searching,
Yeah,
because you're not helping them. You're just posting crap on the forum that says you search. Search
Yeah,
not
that's
work for
just
you.
another way of saying noob
Yeah,
when
noob.
people
It
do
is.
that.
So I mean,
search.
I do that professionally, right? So I work in a B2B. So I say, you know, yes, the answer's in the community, but what I want you to do is I want you to give them the answer, and then give them the link to the answer in the community at the end of it,
That
so
yeah.
that, yeah, because they've got their solution in hand, and they know, or give them part of the solution. Say, here's how it'll help most of your problem. If you need more details, go here, and there's a better deep dive over here, and you can get your answer. And that, does two things. It's giving them an answer and trying to solve their problem, and two, teaching them that there's more resources available that they can go to, and maybe find, maybe that becomes their first step next time, right? They go, oh, you know what, that the question was answered in the community. Let me look first there and see if my solution is there for this problem I'm having today. And if it's not, then I can go back and ask for it. And that's about call deflection, and you know bringing down the cost of your support team.
Yeah,
When you have a community for that purpose,
yeah.
um,
Then you
it's
don't have
good if you
to.
can get it to work. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Then you don't have to, rely solely on your moderators, and you have a healthy community where the senior people are, being accountable, helpful, useful.
Well, and those senior
You're kind of
leaders, if they
empowering them.
right, and
Yeah.
if they become they become the good, your wise sages, as I said, then they can become moderators, right? People always ask me, how do you find good moderators? And I say, you have them already. They're the people that you know by name, and maybe not just their screen name. Maybe their screen name is, you know, historian, but you know them as David. And if you know their first name, but they've never written it anywhere, and you know that they post good all the time, that's your best moderator. They may need some training on how to best moderate, but if they're in the community being helpful, and you know them by name and you see them every day, there's your instant moderator, as long as they're willing to do the job, because it is a commitment.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. There are people in the community that are already going to be filling that role, whether they have the badge symbol that says that they're a moderator or not. There's a guy in one of our communities by the name of Evan Stoner. He is a just this super great community representative for us. And the crazy thing is, because of the way that we are supporting a product, he's not a customer of ours. The only interest that he has in this is helping other people, because at some point in time he's going to have a question and they're going to be able to help him. And we've been able to give him some of these elevated privileges to to moderate some things, and he was absolutely one of those first people that we found that was able to do that. And he's um, because of the way that he could very easily be the guy that says, oh, why don't you search for it, noob, or RTFM or whatever, but he doesn't, and he goes through and he does exactly what you just described, David, where hey, let me tell you the TLDR of the answer and then link you to these 3 or 4 articles that have already been posted in the community and the knowledge base. Here it is, here's the TLDR, here's why the answer is what it is, and that's so much better than just saying, oh, go Google it, because why have a community if the only thing the community members are ever going to say is RTFM and LMGFY, so GFTY. Let me Google that for you. That's what it is.
And then there's that whole site, let me Google that for you, where you can give them a link that goes to Google, types it in, and searches for them, which is trollish to me.
Oh,
something
it's
someone
very
else reminded me of is to just always go back to how can I help you? Like to just, I think it's important to remember that when you're dealing with someone who may be a little bit more difficult, is just go back to, and we mentioned this earlier when we were talking about like find the core issue, find the core problem, and just keep going back to that. Because if there's no way you can help them, then it's a different situation and you know what you're dealing with a little bit more. I think we've touched somewhat on this already, but question 3 is how can we create an environment where bullies and trolls cannot thrive? So kind of going to what Kristen was saying, like how can you take away what it is they're trying to get? How can you make it so that they cannot thrive there? So they go to someone else's playground to bully and troll.
Well, I was going to say, if there's one thing that I've said on probably every time that I've been on here is be proactive, and if you can set up those rewards, right? We've already talked about kind of the psychology behind why you might be bullying or trolling. If you can set up other rewards for positive behaviors, I think that goes a long way. There's a lot of newer community features that as you help people with certain things, you get more points, you get more badges, you get more responsibilities. You can't respond to somebody until you've done a couple of different things. So you can really gamify those positive things. Maybe you can't post a link in your reply until you've set up a bio and a picture, and it's those things that David was talking about, this kind of mask that people can wear, this mask of anonymity. You start to put that information in, and now all of a sudden it's you are closer to you, at least a little bit closer to you. You can present positive rewards for people to make connections with people, and I think that helps a lot to eliminate the potential for bullying and trolling.
I totally agree with Alan. You can't negative really, but the more positive you have, it can drown out and sort of overpower the negative. Actually, I moderate Social Business Hour on Mondays, and on Monday, this past Monday, we don't get very much negative going on in there at all, but it's a great community. And they were doing a live blab on Monday, and you guys probably know what blab is. So people come in, a lot of the people were, regular community members who came to see the live episode, and a troll came in. Somebody, none of us knew who it was, somebody that came in on blab, and, of course he would type he or she, whatever it was, like vagina, or is that girl a boy, or, just stupid things like that. And I'm telling you guys, my Twitter DMs, my notifications on Blab, everything blew up immediately from the people that are regulars who are supporters in the community going, hey, wait, this guy can't be here. We're not going to have this. And they were responding to him and whatever. We ended up being able to ban him from the Blab, but it was just the rest of the community was not going to have it. And it's because they are very positive people, and we try to encourage that positivity. So I agree with what Alan was saying about empowering and focusing on the good as a concept.
Yeah, I ran into a situation a few years ago where people were comparing me to Scrooge McDuck, posting pictures of me like dancing around in money, and like a big issue was that with that was I kind of had to look at what we were doing and what our brand message was, and I think our story kind of got lost along the way with a lot of the new members. Like, we were always the underdog, we were always like, everyone was always rooting for us to do well, and then once we got popular, people thought we were just, we drove Lamborghinis and lived in a mansion, and then we got a lot of trouble for that, and it was really annoying. And I had to step back and look at our website, look at all of our content. Are we telling our story properly? Are we being transparent about where our money goes to, and then the community that we're supporting, and the team members are flying out to Japan and stuff, and letting people know that yes, we're charging a little bit more for this product, but that money goes directly to that player, or it goes into paying our taxes. So a lot of the time it's looking within, make sure your brand message is in line with what your goals are, what your beliefs are.
Oh, that's a great point.
Do you guys think it's... Sorry, what?
There's a funny tweet about the Spear Duck from Patrick Helen. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I was just going to ask if you guys think it's possible to rehab bully or troll behavior through community management. Are they a lost cause, or is there a way to turn them around? What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah. I think,
Definitely.
here's the thing. People that, and I've said this before, it takes effort to come in and rip you a new ass. They have to put thought and time into writing that 15-paragraph missive that says you suck. And that's a lot of passion. And, it takes a lot of passion to come in and tell you you've really messed up. And sometimes, they could use a dictionary or a thesaurus to choose their words better. But ultimately, if you can work with that person, determine what they're upset about, find a good solution that's good for everybody, then oftentimes that person will come in and become your biggest champion. They'll flip. They'll go from ripping you a new one to singing your praises to anybody that'll listen. And I think most people that have done community management for a time can point to somebody and say, this person said I sucked at moderation, I sucked at what I did, and I said, fine, you become a moderator, step into my shoes, let's see how it goes. And it's turned them around, and they've gone, okay, I get it. It's not easy, to deal with this day in, day out. And maybe the product isn't perfect, but I honestly believe that based on our conversations, you guys are working to make it better. And there's things that you can do that takes those people that are complaining the loudest and the most, to swing them around to your side. It can be done. I absolutely believe it can be done. It's the I heart haters wearing the hat, because I honestly believe that your most ardent detractors, the people that talk your product down, talk your service, or talk you down, are ultimately on your side. They want things to be better. And getting to better is something you want too, right? You want to be better than you were yesterday with your product, with your life, with your message, everything. And talking to them and finding out what they think would improve things. And they may not be right, and you may have good arguments for it, but if you can explain that to them, you can certainly change it. So absolutely, you can bring a troll or a hater around and make them into your biggest champion. It just takes time and effort, and why wouldn't you want to do that? Because obviously, a super passionate person about what they believe is right and with your product and in the world.
That's a good point. I think that the key differentiator there is this person a part of your community, or using your community to troll and to bully? If they are really a legitimate part of the community, yeah, they're going to have that same group of interests and that same investment, or at least a similar level of investment in the community, right? But if they're just driving by and they're looking for some place to troll, and they're like, oh, hey, here's a whole bunch of fun people I can troll, then that's probably where, then you probably can't do that. And that's probably when you need to put down that ban hammer and get them out of the community. If they are very committed to trolling, especially if they don't have a vested interest in it, you probably won't be able to get them to come around. But I mean, it just goes back to, hey, this is a real person behind this, trolling. Let's find out what they want. Why are they mad? Like, why are you mad, buddy? Let's talk about this. Let's find out why you are upset about this. Is it because you're really passionate about the product, the service? Then yeah, then let's figure out a way to work with you. But yeah, if they're just there for the trolling, you got to get rid of them.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, if they're there just to disrupt, then they just need to go, or disrupt or spam. So
So you guys have kind of brought us right into question 5, which is when do you ban a bully or troll from your community? Do you guys have anything else to add on to what you said, or are we good there?
I don't know. I have no patience for like hate speech or homophobic, racist comments. I just
When they're harmful to
it's
the community, to
harmful.
other members of the community, definitely that's a no-go.
yeah, I think that's it. Whenever they're not contributing, they're disrupting. I'm all for it. You get 3 strikes and you're out. But given certain circumstances, you're just plain out. Um, there's like I said, clearly defined rules in place. You shouldn't have any trouble. The only issue you might have is that if they're truly trollish, no matter what you do, they'll be back, and they'll be back with a vengeance sometimes.
Yeah.
And if you really piss them off, like 4chan, I knew it would come up today, they may be back with a small army or a large army. So I'm not trying to piss you off, 4chan. I respect the 4chan.
That is true, though. I mean, you do have to think about things tactically. you know, just because you have a ban hammer doesn't mean that they won't come back.
Right. And
through.
depending on the platform, some platforms have nice tools. A long time ago, I forget which platform it was, but they had something called a Tacky Goes to Coventry. And basically what it did was made a user feel like nothing had changed, but nobody else on the site could see what they were doing. So they would post, and the post would sit there, and to them it would show up normal, but nobody else would see it, right?
Oh, that's awesome. I never heard of that.
Yeah, there's different variations of it, but basically it's the same idea, right? Is that you take a person and you put them in their own little universe, and the only people that can interact with their stuff is them. So if they come into a forum post and they're like, y'all suck, just blah 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 blah, nobody can see it but them, and to them it looks normal. Now when they don't get any kind of reaction at all, um, then they're going to slowly figure out something's wrong. And of course, then if they log out and log into a different account, then they can't see those posts anymore. So I think they call them soft banning in a lot of places. But basically, it's this ability to section them off from the greater community. In the gaming world, in online gaming itself, there are companies that have servers dedicated to these trollish behaviors. The most recent one I can think of is the Killer Instinct community on Xbox One. If you quit out of a game too much, you'll go to jail. And basically, it just cuts you off from the rest of the world of players online, and it makes it so that you can only fight other people that are in jail. So by quitting in a match and not finishing through and winning or losing as you should, you end up fighting with other people that do that. And it's a percentage, right? So if you quit so many times per 100 fights, then you'll end up in jail. And so when you end up in jail and you're have to deal with people that do that behavior that you were doing to everybody else, it makes you more aware, right? So if we could find a way to take all the trolls in the world and stick them all in one room and let them troll each other long enough, I think they'd get sick of each other and realize that maybe the behavior isn't as much fun as they think it is.
Well, and the beautiful
But
thing of doing it to where they don't know that they've been banned is that like there is a finite amount of trolling that a troll can do, right? And if they don't know, if it's not getting there, like they are going to just be screaming into the void and not know at all that they aren't doing that. And meanwhile, your community is just chugging along and not being disrupted. And eventually they, if they don't get that response, they don't get that rush of endorphin or whatever the heck it is that works for them, they don't get it enough. Okay, fine. Well, I'm going to go find some other place to go and troll. So, I'm gonna have to look into that. That seems like a good idea.
it just depends on the platform. Like I know Jive doesn't really have anything like that, but most forum softwares, like traditional forum softwares, have something that'll do that. So usually. If they don't,
David,
it's
you're making me miss my forums. Pretty hardcore today.
that's where I grew up, so
Yeah,
that's
me too, but it's been a while for me. I'm feeling nostalgic.
All right, I have a question here from Roshni. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Are bullies and trolls created, or is it natural to adopt these behaviors? What do you guys think?
I think it's both. I think that when you get a young adult on the internet, a young adult male more specifically, who, they're not quite teenagers or in that tween age, having worked with communities that were centered around that, you know, I think that they can be narcissistic, but I think it's just the nature of human beings, right? There's an age where we become brats for a little while, and if I can go online and be a total jerk to somebody anonymously and get a reaction out of an adult, that's a huge deal. Like I have power now, and I think that we've all done it as kids, done something stupid like that, trolled and bullied somebody just because we could. But I think that if, as an adult, people do seem to take pleasure. Sometimes they can grow into the habit of trolling somebody. They do it once, they get a reaction, they like that reaction, and they think, man, if I could do this more. Or maybe they just find this one person that they love needling, and it can happen. I think it's a little bit of both, you know. I think that teen girls can be excessively hard on other teen girls and bullying. So I think it's just a natural part of growing up. You go through that process of being, either bullied or the bully, whether you realize it or not. And so, you know, I think it's just something we all go through. At some point, all of us were a troll and a bully, even if it was for 5 minutes when we were 13. And nobody's contradicting me, so I feel good
No.
saying that.
Well, we all know Kristen's afraid to talk after you, so. I have another question for you guys. This one is from Susie, and she says she has trouble getting her advocates to help moderate and wants to know if you have any suggestions on motivation for recruiting, I assume, volunteer moderators.
Yeah, it's tough. I always like to say that, 100 people say they'll help, 10 people will show up, and one person will actually do it. So, it's attrition. You're just going to have to continually cycle through them. I had a community with 16 million users spread across 14 games, and I had 200 volunteers that were super good. So if you take those numbers, 200 out of 16 million were worth, the word that they said they'd be. So, and even those were flaky. People have lives, so they can't always be, and if it's a company or other thing, they may be restricted by their employer. I've worked in communities where people couldn't even post because it was against, not just their company policy, but federally mandated as to what they could say and not say because of the industry they were in. So they had to be very careful.
Yeah, I think people like naturally also kind of want to be part of something too. So maybe creating a separate, Slack group or Facebook group for those people and giving them, extra information that not everyone will have. That might, make them more inclined to help out.
Also, if you need volunteer help, try to make sure that it's accessible for people. Don't have requirements in place that are going to make it hard for someone to do something on a volunteer basis. Try to make it so that they can contribute on their own terms. If they only have an hour a week, maybe you want to allow for people to kind of set their own parameters within the guidelines of your community.
I think it's important, too, to look at your community specifically and what can be the motivators there. There can be some creative ways to do it. So I know Foursquare, just as an example, when they needed moderators, they put out a call for moderators, and because what they needed was actually people checking, verifying information on addresses, locations, types of businesses, whether or not they accepted credit cards, whatever, different business data is what they needed help moderating. They actually have, or had anyway, a tool set up where you could apply to be a moderator, and you had to go through kind of practice moderation techniques to see if you understood really what they were looking for. And then if you were accepted into the moderation program, you got access to the special moderator forum, you got a badge. But all of those privileges were kind of made known and presented as something that was very positive, something you would want to be a part of. But I think if that's something that you need like if you actively need a lot of moderators, then think about putting something together like that at some sort of program where people know that you need them and what you're looking for, what the benefits are, and also what the requirements are. Because you're willing to give stuff for them, but they need to provide for you as well, and just be really clear on those expectations.
I also think that if you, especially when we're talking about online communities, send them something in the real world. Even a simple thank you note is a nice thing to do. There are of course those, the more, each of the forums will have their own gamification. You can give them more things, which is always nice to do. You mentioned giving them the, the tools and the power to do things within the community, but then send them something in the real world. If somebody helped you moderate a whole bunch of spam and get a whole bunch of spam out or something like that, go on to Amazon and buy them a $10 Thor hammer and send it their way, and say, hey, thanks for ban hammering all that spam for me. Say something's pretty easy to do, and it'll make sure that they remember what they got it for.
Yep.
Yeah, or even stickers. I've sent handwritten thank you notes and stickers, and you can send those anywhere in the world for $1.20 is what postage costs. Like literally anywhere in the world, I know from experience already. So like, it's not expensive, and it's easy to do, and it means so much to people when they get a note just thanking them for their activity or for whatever it was, or congratulating them on a deployment or anything. You're encouraging them to become more active users of the community, which in turn can lead to moderators as well.
And everybody loves a good laptop sticker.
Well, not everybody. I'm kind of a purist.
I don't have one of those, Sherry, just FYI.
Well, maybe you should come visit with that plane ticket we keep telling you about.
Yeah, I think that's it. What is it? Finding Forrester. Sean Connery was telling young men the secret to love is an unexpected gift at unexpected times. And I think that's with anybody. If you just catch them out of the blue and say, I really appreciate what you were doing. Here's something that they weren't expecting, then that's a good thing. It's like within one of the communities I worked with, we had the fields for people to put in their addresses, but it was a business community, right? So they really didn't need to at all. But those people that did, we were like, all right, so we've got your address and information. Why don't I just send you something and just not tell you, and it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, we're B2B. I think I mentioned last week about that. If you're B2B, it's so easy to like randomly ship things to people because you have their company address and their name. So it's not even creepy if something just shows up for them. It's just a fun surprise.
It is a fun surprise. It's not a bill. Hey, I got something in the mail from a vendor that I use, and it's not a bill.
And it's not even creepy.
So do you guys have any other thoughts? Do you guys have other thoughts on what's important to keep in mind with dealing with bullies and trolls, just to kind of wrap up our thoughts on our main topic here?
Don't take it personally. They're really, if they're genuinely angry about something with the product, they're not angry at you. They're just angry at what happened. If they're a troll or a bully, they're just looking to get a reaction. Just don't give them one. Be completely opposite of what they expect. If they're trying to make you mad, be calm, and ask them why. Why are you trying to make me mad? And those kinds of things. Just keep your head is the real secret, and attack it as if they aren't as angry or they aren't poking the bear or anything like that. Just normal interaction. It's like, hey, what's up? Can I help you with something? You seem angry.
Agree with David, and understand that you just simply can't win them all.
Oh no,
And
you can't.
that ties back into not taking it personally. If you get to a point where you have to eliminate someone from the picture, as it were, that's going to happen sometimes.
I hate that though.
I hate
As a
it.
community manager, it means I failed. Like I've let a troll win when I
I
had to
agree,
ban
but
them.
have you not had to do it though? Because I mean, that was the hardest thing for me, to come to the realization that, and maybe it's just because as humans we're not capable of perfection. Maybe it's that simple. But um, I think it's unrealistic to think that you're never going to have to do this.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do it. You know,
It sucks.
the ones that really get to me are the ones that, like, they know that they're not behaving properly. Like they know that in getting into those kinds of conversations, they get wound up and they start saying stuff they shouldn't. And you'll warn them once, and they're like, you're so right. I'm so sorry. I know. And I was like, I know that I shouldn't have gone that far. And you're like, dude, be the bigger man. Step back. Don't let them rile you up. And then 2 weeks later, somebody else pokes them and they get riled up and they break rules, and you're like, look, we talked about this. And they're like, I know, I'm so sorry. And then they do it that third time, and you're like, all right, I'm sorry. We tried, and I gotta let you go. And they're accepting, right? At that point, they go, all right, I understand. And you're like, I feel terrible for having to do this, because they understand that they've made these mistakes. They understand that it aggravates them and it gets under their skin, and they just don't have that little bit of control. And again, mostly this is dealing with younger people that have trouble with those, controlling that kind of stuff. And but it's that final ban, and you're like, I'm gonna have to ban you, and they're like, all right, I understand. And it's that all right, I understand, that kills me, because it's like I couldn't fix this. But you know, we usually let them come back in some form down the road, and usually they manage to keep it under control, but not always.
Well, and it's yeah, there are those people that are aware of the situation, and then there are those that are just completely unaware, and those, there's not going to be, you can't fix everybody, unfortunately, and that's just kind of the way it is. Um, One other thing that I think is important to consider is trying to put yourself in their shoes, because you can accidentally escalate the situation, right? So I was doing a little bit of research for a tool that I use, and went to their community to try to get a little bit more information, and I noticed that this one person had always had the right answer, but the way that this person presented that answer kind of came off as RTFM and not being very helpful. So I do a little bit more background, and okay, well, this person's first language is not English, right? And the vast majority um, of the forum is in English, right? And so it's like, okay, maybe it is something that's lost in translation. Maybe this person is like literally using Google Translate to get their point across. Maybe that's going on, and then maybe there's some cultural things that are in there where this is just the way that this person is trying to be helpful and trying to get the person that answer, without having to expose their lack of English proficiency or something like that. So I cut myself, I cut this person a little bit of slack, instead of saying, hey, try to be a little bit more helpful there, and said, okay, well, maybe that's what it is, and then go in and try to lead more by example, and give a little bit fuller explanation of an answer whenever I answer in that community.
I've had that where it's been a language barrier that was perceived differently. And then what I've done with that in the past is, if it consistently reads rough like that, I will just say, you know, as soon as they post, I would go and say, please remember, especially if somebody says, wow, that was pretty
Yeah.
harsh, and say, please remember, not everybody's first language is English, and sometimes the translations can be a little hard. And then I go to that person and I say, look, from here on out, just say, first thing, English is not my first language, and that usually diffuses it for every post after that, as long as they do that. Because then people are less likely to read it, word for word like it is, because there are some languages that are close, but when they're translated, it does come off sounding really not harsh, but firm, I guess is the way, and you just can't help that. But having them let people know up front, sorry for the wording, English not my first language, usually will smooth that all over. Uh, but getting them to do that consistently can be a challenge too.
Right, and by just taking a step back and trying to empathize a little bit, you avoid that escalation that might push this person who just is having a legitimate language difficulty, keeping them from getting upset and escalating to become a bully or a troll. So that's a yep.
I think it's important to remember too that on the community manager end of things, it's important to remember that there's cultural differences too, not just language differences. So it could be something where we would never say it. It's just so like matter of fact for their culture that they don't think of it as being harsh or rude or whatever. It's just that's their culture. So it's important to really understand the demographics of your community and what cultural things to be aware of there too. Which you can't necessarily help everyone in your community understand the way you can by saying English isn't my first language, but it's still something to be it's something good to be aware of as a community manager. Cool. Does anyone else have anything to add, or are we,
I think
are we good?
just make sure you keep it, if it's in a Facebook group, try to take it offline.
Yeah, take it offline, but don't hide it, right?
Don't hide it.
Yeah. If somebody comes in and says, a big complaint, don't pull it offline to the point where nobody can see it, because then everybody's like, why are they hiding that? What's going on? Why are they covering that up? Be visible. It's fine to take it offline, but once you have a solution, go back to that post where you took it offline and say, here's how we resolved it. And then usually if you do that, the person that was upset to begin with will come back in and say, yeah, it's all cool now. And that looks awesome in the community, right? Someone comes in with a huge complaint and you guys go away, work it out, and come back and say, okay, well, here's our solution, here's what we did. Then it looks really good from the perspective. You're not hiding anything per se. I mean, you did probably have some offline communications, but you're not going to air all that. But there was a problem, you addressed it, you took it offline, and you came back and say, okay, we worked it out. I mean, and there's going to be times when you're not, right? You're going to have to come back and say, well, we didn't have a good solution for this. But, we'll keep this in mind as we move forward. And that goes a long way, too. So I'm not a fan of delete.
No.
Because it seems like it always causes more problems when you remove stuff than if you just let it sit and address it. Even if you don't feel like you got to do it that instant, right? If it's major, just say we're working on it, and then come back to it if you need to. But definitely don't.
I will say, yeah, deleting tends to escalate things, whether or not they would have escalated without deleting them, for sure. All right, well, thanks, guys. Hopefully this has been really helpful for people talking about bullies and trolls today. I don't know what we're talking about next week yet, but if you have suggestions, go ahead and send them our way. You can go to mycmgr.com/participate and let us know what you want to talk about. If you want to be on air, we're always open to suggestions.
Can I say something, Sherry?
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, go ahead.
I see lots of really cool people in the Twitters today and in past weeks who really need to get on a panel. Sherry said it nicely. I'm saying y'all get on a panel. Okay.
Surely
you've been told.
I was going to say, surely you people are tired of seeing me on here, right? I can stand to learn some new stuff. Come on, get on here. Let me learn for once,
I'm not gonna name names, but I see you guys out there. You need to get on here.
Patrick, I didn't name names. calling you out, Patrick. But yeah, so I don't know how many community manager hangouts we've had, but I know I've been on over 30 of them, so you people need to step up. It's creeping up on 40 of them. So
wow. Indeed, and we love it when there's new faces on here and we get to meet more people, so definitely
I
enjoy this.
Different perspective too, because I learn just as much as you guys, even though it seems like I talk all the time or feel like I do. I don't know if I really do, but it feels like I do. But I learn stuff every week, even if I'm not actively participating like this. So please step up, join the party. It's a lot of fun. and so worth doing.
And I'm
Awesome.
shy and awkward, so if I could do it, anyone can.
I got to get one of
Hey,
your yo-yos. My friend, my son likes to yo-yo every once in a while. He's no pro, but I have to get one for him.
thanks everyone. Have a good weekend.